Welcome to the Double Dribble podcast with Dubin and Dakil, brought to you on RealGM Radio. Yes, this is our first time on our new mothership. We were straddling around, just like I look at this as a boat paddling along, just you and I on a rowboat, and then we just got picked up by another boat. So now we're up along the new mother boat. I'm not gonna say mothership. I feel like that's weird. We're not aliens, but we're on a bigger boat now, rolling with RealGM, and we're bringing you this show twice a week, Monday and Wednesdays. You're gonna get a lot of Jared. You're gonna get a lot of me, and hey, man, it's time to roll. And make sure, on top of all this, you are subscribing to Jared's newsletter. Last Night in Basketball, tons of great stuff there. You're going to get a lot of unbelievable content. He always drops down some great breakdowns in there that I really love. Make sure you're checking that out. Of course, I'm a former video coordinator with the Clippers Spurs Team Australia. I've worked on offside videos, do a lot of videos for them content. I'm a contributor on NBA TV, and I'm just generally a wonderful human being, as I like to say, Jared. I don't know if everybody agrees, but that's where I'm going to go with it. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Excited for the new digs, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, this is a new experience for us, and there's going to be some fun stuff along the way, and we're going to be talking a whole lot more now, twice a week. Again, just want to hammer that point home for you. And again, folks, if you listen to us on the Double Dribble feed, you got to change over to the RealGM feed. That's where you're going to get the podcast. Make sure you're checking all that stuff out, and then you're going to get 4 or 5 shows a week from RealGM. So that's always going to be a lot of fun stuff with everything that you have. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste too much more time with all the shenanigans that we have with this. Jared, but we have talking points in our rundown, but then something happened yesterday, and I was just like, yeah, we have to talk about this. The Orlando Magic got utterly destroyed by the Toronto Raptors. They lost by 53 points, and I believe in the first to second quarter, they gave up a 31-0 run. They gave up 31 points and did not score a bucket. A point. Not even get to the free throw line and score a point in that stretch. I don't really like to say this. I've been hard on the Magic all year, right? Because I started in coming in really high, and I felt like they've done a pretty poor job. I don't know how you can keep Jamal Mosley. I don't know how you keep. I wouldn't be shocked if I literally, by the time we close this, he actually gets fired before the playoffs. The way the Nuggets did Michael Malone, the way Memphis did Taylor Jenkins. Like, I will not be shocked by this.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I don't know. Like, obviously, those moves were incredibly out of the ordinary, and it's not like that's something that we're going to see teams do a lot. Like, I don't know if that's going to become a trend, and I don't know what else you really do if you're the Magic. But I wouldn't be surprised at this point either. There have been some comments going back and forth between Mosley and the players. There was a comment a few weeks ago about how Paolo saying they don't make halftime adjustments, and then Jamal Mosley said, like, the adjustments are just playing harder. And now, like, there was some comments yesterday about how maybe they were unprepared for the game or something along those lines. But I don't care how unprepared you are. Giving up a 31-0 run and losing by 52 to the Brandon Ingram and Emmanuel Quickley-less Raptors is embarrassing, and nothing should be off the table.
Yeah, and by the way, the coaching change might not be the only change, right? Like, I could see a lot of changes coming in Orlando this offseason, but I think the most immediate one, I think, is Mosley has not done a great job with this. I feel like their offense had a lot more potential that they've never really kind of explored. Their defense has taken a backseat. He's been there about 5 years. And you have to be worried a little bit about sort of getting tuned out to a large degree. And I think, like, when you're looking at all of this, it's just like, dude. And by the way, those comments, and this is coming happy, I was seeing this back in November. Like, I did a NBA TV show with Zach Harper and Alexis Morgan, and we saw a post-game press conference from Mosley. And I forget what game it was. It was early in the year, but every question was asked to him, he answered with turnovers. It's turnovers. It's turnovers. It was like they could have asked him what you had for lunch, and he was just saying it's turnovers. Like this was the level he was going to. And I texted Harper on the side saying like, that's the sign of a coach who knows he's getting fired at some point. Like that's the sign right there. Like that's a sign of desperation, exasperation, all that stuff. And it's just like I like him as a coach, and I just think the way we kill players for not growing, he didn't grow as a coach. And I think that's an important thing.
You know, sometimes it's just time. Like, eventually a voice gets stale, and it seems like that's kind of what happened here. Even the defense fell off this year from where it was the last few years. And it shouldn't have. You know, like, yeah, Suggs missed some time. Mo Wagner was out for a pretty big portion of the season. Franz Wagner has been out for a pretty big portion of the season, but the defensive infrastructure they had there shouldn't have dropped off as much as it has. And just they did not explore the studio space offensively, even when everybody was healthy, in a way that made sense for what they had on the team. And it's going to come to an end this offseason. The only question is whether it comes to an end before the end of the regular season, which I would be like, I suppose I would be surprised but not shocked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right. No, I mean I won't be surprised actually.
Or shocked,
and
but
you
not
had
surprised, I guess.
not even shocked or any. I would just be like, yeah, kind of had to do it. Even going into the playoffs, you know, my calculus has changed after last season with teams kind of doing this right before the playoffs in that sense of like, hey man, we think this vibe is so bad right now. We have to do it now. We might actually see a little bit of a bump in the playoffs. But either way, Orlando's just dead in the water. Like it's really bad. And that was pretty disastrous. I don't want to stay on this one too long because, again, I just pulled this out. Because I want to talk about the big game yesterday. And, you know, sorry, Boston fans, we're not going to talk Jason Tatum absolutely killing Charlotte, yesterday. The big game was Knicks Thunder. And there was a lot of stuff coming into that, and that kind of being a potential finals preview. I want to go with first your takeaways from that game.
Honestly, the biggest takeaway is that it felt like the Knicks were swimming upstream the entire game after they had that really slow start where they shot like 25% in the first quarter and worse than that from two. I think they were 4 for 15 on twos in the first quarter, if I'm remembering correctly. And it just felt like they had to, like I said, swim upstream the entire game. They took a 1-point lead at one point early in the third quarter. Then the Thunder immediately got a 4-point possession after the flagrant foul on Karl-Anthony Towns, and then Chet had a putback dunk, and then it was, again, just swimming upstream from there the entire game. It felt like they never really got their sea legs, to continue the nautical analogy here. But
we're going to hammer that home today.
Yeah. Towns kind of disappeared for a lot of the first half. I think he had 2 shots in the first half or 1 shot in the first half or something along those lines. It was another one of those games where he seems uninvolved for a while, and then he did get involved in the third quarter. The J-Dub third quarter I thought was huge, where he had, I think, 13 or 15 points in the third quarter. SGA just didn't make shots for the first 3 quarters of the game and then made 3 huge ones in the fourth quarter to extend the lead. Like, every time the Knicks started calling back into it, the Thunder just slammed the door back shut on them, whether it was with their offense, with those guys making shots, or especially in the fourth quarter with their defense, where the Knicks just couldn't do much offensively.
So to kind of go back to your point first with Cat was, you know, finished with 9 shots total, only 1 in the first quarter, I think it was, you were saying. 7 in the fourth.
None in the first quarter. No shots.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, one in the first half then. Was 1 for 1. Made the shot. But, you know, in the fourth quarter, had 7 shots. Like, he needs to be more, like he himself has actually been saying this to a degree too. He needs to be more involved in the offense. I don't know if it's the level of him being more aggressive or if it's Mike Brown calling certain actions early on to get him involved and get him touches early and going. But he can't have 9 shots for a game because he's supposed to be their number 2. Like he can't have the same number of shots as OG Anunoby, as Mikal Bridges in that area. Like Josh Hart can't have more shots than him in a game. And I also understand why, like, teams are going to leave Josh Hart open. He has to take the wide open shots that are available to him.
And by the way, he's making those shots at an absolutely insane rate. He's like, I believe he is 16 for his last 20 for three. Josh Hart.
Yeah, I actually, it felt like every time he got a clean look, it was going in. Like, he's in an incredible rhythm. But at the same time, like, Cat has to be your second option. And I kind of feel partly to blame here a little bit, Jared. I was the one saying we got to diversify the offense, get more touches for other guys and things like that. But at the same time, I'm like, I didn't realize you'd completely lose Cat in the shuffle. And I think that's the mistake that they got to find a way. And we're way too late in the season for this to be the ongoing problem for them. But like that's the thing that's going to hold them back, I think, come playoff time is, are you going to consistently get Cat playing at the level that Cat can play at? And I mean that more on the offensive end. Like you're really going to struggle.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but he has now 12 games with fewer than 10 shots. The Knicks are 7-5 in those games, but those losses are to Detroit, Cleveland, Oklahoma City twice, and Charlotte the game before Oklahoma City when he only played 22 minutes and the Knicks kind of got their asses kicked the other day.
Yeah, that was the game where I texted you, can't trust the Knicks. That was a game to me. That Charlotte game actually was even more problematic to me than this Thunder game. Because, like, all right, the Thunder are freaking good. It was close down the stretch, and then Shea just went, okay, yeah, I'm the MVP. I'm going to start to go off. And it wasn't a whole bunch of free throws in the fourth quarter, folks. Like, Shea was actually just getting buckets.
Free throws before the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was the he was straight up getting buckets, so and scoring at you guys at will. And we'll go to the Thunder here in a second and more focused on them, but that loss to Charlotte was, okay, this is an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot. Let's go out there, and this is a team that's been, kind of climbing up in the rankings have been unbelievable, second half of really more than a second half of the season before, after a terrible start, really killing it. Like, let's send a message. And it was like, you just got your ass kicked. And it was kind of like, I don't want to say embarrassing because Charlotte's good and a very good basketball team. But it was one of those things where I think it was a little bit deflating in that way of like, we talk about it all the time. We did this episode a few weeks ago. Why do people don't trust the Knicks? It's that. In a big game, big opportunity moment, they just don't show up.
And that was a game where they literally just didn't show up. Like, they didn't have any answer for the Hornets on defense or, frankly, on offense. It was a game that exemplifies, like you said, why a lot of people still don't trust them. And then, like, still, even over the course of this stretch, it's like they've been so good over the course of this stretch. But a lot of the wins have, in fairness, come against teams that are not very good, and a lot of the losses have come against teams that are very good. And it's tough to put. And they've had wins against teams that are good during the stretch too. They kicked the shit out of Denver. They had a win against, I can't remember who else is good, but they're playing the Rockets on Tuesday, I believe, if I'm remembering that.
Well,
correctly.
We could start calling them.
Play a good team.
We could start calling them a mediocre team instead of a good team, and I mean that about the Rockets. But that's just in that sense. So that's kind of like just my takeaways. You got to figure this stuff out with Cat. How are you going to find more consistent offense? I thought Bridges played pretty well for them in this game. I thought this was
the best Bridges game in a while, which is not saying much because he's been terrible
awful
recently. But that was the best game that he's played in a while. He was one of the few guys making shots for them early in the game. I think he was like 3 for 4 in the first quarter. Him and Brunson were really the only ones making shots. He had 4 steals. His defense was good, except for the one play where Jalen Williams dribbled through like 4 guys and Bridges
that was
away with that one. But he had a couple nice strips in there. He played good defense, I thought, for the most part. Another thing, I guess we haven't really talked about the Thunder yet. Oklahoma City having like a double cross match coming out to start the game with J-Dub on Towns, Hartenstein on Hart, and and Chet on Anunoby. Like, you got to be able to take advantage of that in some way, and they weren't able to early in the game. Later in the game, it was more about just Hart hitting threes when they dared him to take them, and that is the thing that needs to happen. But you got to have other answers than just Josh Hart takes 7 threes and makes 5, because that's not going to happen all the time.
No, it's just something you can't bank on. Like, is really the hard thing there. But let's go to the Thunder, because I want to talk particularly about J-Dub, because this was the best he's looked since he's come back. Like, he's looked more fluid. Listen, he's still a dork. Like, even after that play where he runs through basically the entire defense and does that weird sort of track sort of thing. And yeah, I get it, having fun and all that stuff. It's still a dork. But I think overall, like, there was a level of fluidity from him that we hadn't, like the rust. It was almost like you saw the rust break off him as he was moving in that way. And I felt like that's a great sign for the Thunder in the way that they're kind of heading into the playoffs. Obviously, incredibly deep. You know, it's all, everybody's talking about it. 11-man rotation. We'll see what it looks like when we get to the playoffs and things like that. But it's really important to see J-Dub in these last few weeks kind of get back to full level of, like, yes, I'm not as good as Shea, but I am just below him. And I can take over games when I need to, and that's a big aspect of what you have. And I think it's really important that they kind of find that rhythm for him as we go into the season, as we go into the playoffs.
Yeah, he looked great. They've got, 7 games left, if I'm remembering correctly. You want to see the rust continue to come off. I think you want to see him continue to play at a high level defensively, continue to get downhill offensively, and ideally you'd like to see the jumper come back around, which was the issue early in the season. Like, he was attacking the basket early in the season, not converting at quite as high a level as he was last year and the year before, or not necessarily the year before, but last year. But he is so important for them, just having another downhill driver to get to the basket. That's something that they have a little bit with A.J. Mitchell coming off the bench, a little bit with Jared McCain coming off the bench, but J-Dub is the one that really puts pressure on the basket at a high level other than SGA. They need that, especially when in those minutes when Shea is off the court. You saw it a little bit yesterday, but the defense, I think, is really important for them too. Just his positional versatility, the ability to guard guys like Towns, guard guys on the perimeter is really important. So yeah, in full agreement with you on that. Caruso was huge in that game, got a couple of really big rebounds for them. There was one where he tapped the ball away from Towns on an offensive rebound, where he was like celebrating the fact that he just tapped the ball away. The broadcast caught that toward the end of the game. He had a couple of huge threes in the fourth quarter when the Knicks were, or one of them was to start the fourth quarter to push the lead from 6 to 9, and another one was to push the lead from 1 to 4. So that was huge for them. A.J. Mitchell played really well, and he was actually kind of closing at a certain point before they brought J-Dub back in. They just have an embarrassment of riches coming pretty much everywhere. You know, like Hartenstein had 5 offensive rebounds. The Thunder got beat on the offensive glass, gave up 15 offensive rebounds, but a huge key for them was they had 12 of their own, which is not something that necessarily happens all the time. So they just got contributions from so many different guys up and down the roster, which obviously is a thing for them. Like, they're the deepest team in the league by far. Like, they didn't even play Aaron Wiggins yesterday. You know, Kenrich Williams basically doesn't play. He's their 13th man. He would be in the top 8 for so many teams in the league, but he can't get off the bench. Aaron Wiggins can't get off the bench. He was part of swinging multiple playoff games for them last year, especially in that Denver series, where it was like him, Caruso, and Isaiah Joe coming off the bench that were helping swing games for them. He doesn't even play.
Yeah, it's tough. Kind of like, that's just how good they are and the way they are set up. I want to just highlight one possession, because this is when I was like, all right, game's over. It was like the 3:15 mark in the fourth quarter, and it's about 15 seconds left on the shot clock. The Knicks inbound the ball. The ball never gets inside the three-point arc. They switch everything. It ends up with OG versus Chet after a switch, and it's just a 3, but the ball never gets inside the paint because of the constant switching, and this is SGA involved and everything. Like, the way they were kind of set up was sort of perfect, and it was just so difficult for the Knicks to kind of penetrate the paint and get in there in those, like, clutch time situations, because it was a close game with 6 minutes left. I think it was like a 1-point game with 6 minutes left or right around there. And it's just like that's where you saw the difference, right? Like we're a championship level team, and you're a team that's a conference finals team at best right now. If you're the Knicks, like yeah, you might get to the finals because the East is weak, but like this is the difference, right? Like you could see it in that stretch right there, and I thought that was really big for them. I want to say this real quickly because we know all the foul baiting and things like that, and there was with SGA got to the free throw line 16 times. I thought a lot of them were fouls. And I thought a lot of the times the Knicks were complaining. I was like, you fouled him. There was one in particular where he got fouled on a 3-point shot from Josh Hart.
That was terrible.
Like, Hart's like pissed and is like looking shocked. And I'm like, oh, he must have. I go, maybe it was a high five or something like that. And they showed the replay and he's full on the guy's forearm.
Wait, what? I thought that was a terrible call. I thought he didn't hit him at all.
I thought he got him on the forearm.
Oh, I don't know. I thought that they could have challenged that and gotten it overturned with a leg kick offensive foul on Shea.
Well, you want to talk about the leg kick, that's fine. But I thought he got him on the forearm. We're going to pause the podcast. Actually, this is perfect. Guys, this is new experience for us. We're going to take a moment for a break, and we're actually going to pause the podcast. Because I'm going to go look at the film, and one of us is going to be right or wrong. Because I'm almost positive that he got him on the forearm. And we're back. And yes, I derailed the show and the podcast to go back and look at it. And one, yes, Josh Hart on the forearm. It's definitely a foul there. You can make the argument, as Jared did, the leg kick on the bottom can be an offensive foul as well. You can argue that. You can do all that. With that, but I just think you got him on the forearm. I thought it was and for real time, I didn't think it was a foul. Then I saw the replay and was like, okay, that was a foul there, and it's a legitimate on the forearm, not high five or anything, which they call high fives now, anyways. But neither here nor there. But my point was, a lot of them were actually fouls. Yes, he got like maybe a couple that were like, we give Shea a little bit of a better whistle, but for the most part, y'all fouled the shit out of him.
A lot of the free throw difference, by the way, like fouls were only 25-22 in favor of the Knicks having 3 more fouls. A lot of the difference in free throws is that when the Thunder got into the bonus in the second quarter, they repeatedly went to the basket and got themselves to the line. When the Knicks got into the bonus early in the fourth quarter, they did not do that or couldn't do that.
Yeah,
the Thunder was stopping them from getting into the paint. There was another one on Hart, though, I thought, in the first half. The offensive foul on the illegal screen on Dort. I thought he was just kind of standing there.
That's a terrible call. That was a terrible call.
Was like did not call it, and then Mitchell Irvin comes over from the baseline. He's like, "No, that's a foul." And Jess Schroeder was like literally staring 3 feet in front of her.
That was a terrible call. If anything, it's a foul on Dort because Dort just barrels into Hart. If anything, and like that one, yeah, like holy shit. Like that's where you're kind of like, as a team, you're frustrated with that stuff. But I think we've kind of harped on this one enough. I think this is a pretty important it was a big game. More for the Knicks than I think the Thunder. If the Thunder lost, I don't think that would have changed anything for us, but it
was another game just like the first Knicks OKC game where you can see like the Knicks are close. They can compete with these guys. They're like just close enough to not quite be there.
Yeah. They're yeah, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. And I want to move on to our next subject. Because, the biggest scourge in the league right now is tanking. We have honestly, 10 teams officially are out, so they're all tanking. And they've been tanking for a while. We have, if you really want to be honest, kind of the Warriors as well. So it'd be 11. But the NBA came out with 3 rumored proposals, and we should say they're rumored, that came out in the governor's meeting. That Shams reported were relatively same concept, I think, just different executions. And I want Jared to kind of lay them out here for us.
Yeah, like you said, Shams reported these and got them coming from ESPN.com. So proposal number 1, 18 teams in the lottery, the 10 teams that miss the playoffs, plus the 8 teams that make the play-in tournament. Bottom 10 teams, the 10 that miss the playoffs, all have an equal 8% chance of getting the number 1 pick. The remaining 20% odds are split among the 8 play-in teams in descending order from 11th through 18th, and all 18 spots in the lottery are drawn in that format. So the team with the worst record could conceivably get the 18th pick in the draft based on the way it happens. Second proposal, 22 teams in the lottery. The 10 teams that miss the play-in, the 8 teams that qualify for the play-in, and the 4 teams that lose in the first round. You know what? If the 4 teams that lose in the first round of the playoffs are 4 play-in teams, then wouldn't there still only be 18 teams?
Your math is pretty sharp on that one right there. Well,
No,
it'd be two,
4 extra teams.
four more teams there.
Your math
wasn't very sharp there. Ew.
No, my math was very good. 20.
Miami education, folks. At University of Miami education.
Yeah, I'm a journalist now, not a mathematician. So, yeah. So, like I said, 22
Good thing you don't
teams.
deal with stats at all in our business.
Yeah, no, not at all. 22 teams in the lottery, ranked by their record across the past 2 seasons, which is how the WNBA does it. Under that system, this is from ESPN.com, each team would need to reach a minimum win total floor in each season to mitigate the need to lose every game possible. For example, if the minimum floor for an individual season was 20 wins, a team that went 14-68 would be 20-62 for lottery purposes. And if a team wins 40 games one season and 20 games the next season, it would go in as 30 wins for the lottery. In that system, the top 4 spots would be drawn for the lottery the same way they do it now. Third proposal is what Shams called a 5x5 method. 18 teams in the lottery, same thing as the first one. 10 teams that miss the play-in, plus the 8 teams that make it. The teams with the 5 worst records all have the same odds, and then they descend from there. Lottery drawing for the top 5 picks in the draft. After those picks, there's another drawing for the remaining 13 spots. And if any of the teams with the worst record didn't land one of those top 5 spots, the lowest they could fall in the second lottery would be 10th.
Okay.
Real quickly, the NBPA has a proposal, according to Jake Fisher, which would reward teams financially for wins and penalize losses, flatten the lottery odds, and strictly enforce meaningful penalties. This is per Jake Fisher. The union suggested distributing national TV revenue tied to regular season performance and conference seating, similar to the Premier League, where each higher seed would earn an additional $10 million of TV revenue. They would flatten the lottery odds and expand the lottery to 18 teams, just like the first NBA proposal. But they would set the bottom 10 teams at 7%, and instead of 8%, and then the remaining teams would be at 3.75% chance of landing the number 1 pick. And then they would push to employ additional penalties to punish blatant tanking, such as reducing their lottery odds, moving their pick to the end of the lottery or the first round, or stripping them of their first round pick entirely.
I mean, this is one that's like the nuclear option, I think. Like with the penalties.
The NBA proposal, you mean?
Yeah, the NBA PA proposal with the penalties at the end of like, could you imagine like Utah's egregious tanking resulting in them not getting a pick in the first round like that? Obviously, these are proposals, and I already saw that like tweaks will be made to these things and all that stuff. What is your favorite of? And let's just go the 4 if you want, or you want to just do the 3 and then just leave the NBA PA a little bit off to the side because it doesn't feel like the owners will actually listen to the players.
Probably not. I would say the first one is probably my favorite just because it's the easiest to understand. And I think if it takes too long to explain the concept to people who don't obsessively follow the NBA like we do, it's probably not a great idea. Similar to the format of the All-Star game at this point. If it takes you more than one sentence to explain it, I feel like you've got an idea that's way too complicated.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the second one. And let me be clear, folks, because I'm an idiot. I don't fully understand all of them yet. Like, I still haven't really kind of like completely wrapped my head around them, which is
my issue with the second one. The 4 teams that lose in the first round, let's say SGA gets hurt last game of the season.
Right.
Thunder lose in the first round. Now all of a sudden they're in the lottery. Why?
I mean, right. Like, I actually think I would do the second proposal, but take out the 4 teams, first round playoff teams, maybe, and tweak it that way.
So basically,
And I know
have
that,
the 18 teams, have the minimum wins and losses, and have the still only 4 spots for the lottery, and have the record determined by the last 2 years.
yeah, I think is kind of something I think that would be a bit interesting. I will say this because they are complicated, but I also think there isn't a quick fix like in this way. Like, I don't know if necessarily the solution is going to be a one sentence answer across the board, right? Like, I think that's something it's going to be complicated. It's going to get a little bit confusing, but I think eventually we will adjust and I get used to it, and that whatever it is, and I'm not 100% sure anything will work, right? Like, a lot of these teams are so dead set on the way they're trying to operate that they'll just find the loophole into how to attack. You have to be prepared, though. Like, say they go with the second option, that the scenario Jared just put out there is a legitimate possibility, right? Like,
also, another possibility is you get teams tanking for multiple seasons more often rather than just one season, because the lottery slotting is determined by your multiple year record.
right.
Like, that's not great either. I think the biggest overarching issue with all of them is that none of them are actually anti-tanking solutions. They're just like reforming the way the lottery works. None of them incentivize winning and disincentivize losing.
And I think that's kind of the one thing I think is a problem. Although the one where it's kind of like almost like flat in odds is kind of, I think, at least you're not going to be, if your odds are the same, if you're Washington and it's the same odds as who's a playing team, Charlotte, it doesn't matter if you tank, right? Like, in that, like, you're going to try to win that game because you're shitty anyways. You're probably going to lose anyways, but like you're going to put a little more effort into that game and trying to get that W and things like that. I think which one was it where it was like more like the lottery, the ones that missed the playoffs and missed the play-in have the same odds. I think that one makes probably more sense to me.
Yeah, I think all of them have the teams with the play-in having the teams that miss the play-in entirely having the same odds.
I think that matters to me. We shouldn't reward the worst team with the top pick or the best odds, in my opinion. Like, I think they've all kind of taken this thing too far, where the point where it's like, no, screw y'all. Like,
That's the
now,
case right now. The bottom 4, it's just the bottom 4 teams have the same odds.
right? Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, expand that to me. It's basically and which is what these things are. I think that helps to alleviate the situation. We're always going to have some sort of tanking, though. We're always going to have, like, I just think this is, when you tie this to, this is how you get better, and this is how you get a star prospect, a star player, and, it's free agency is dead. And that's just across the board. I mean, from restricted free agency to the way players and agents operate now, it's go sign the big deal and then demand the trade and pick where you want to go that way, or try to set it up so you can get traded where you want to. Free agency is dead. So, like, for teams, like, this is probably the only way, to really kind of level up to the point where then you can start being a place where players want to be at. And I think tanking is just going to kind of always exist. But at this point, it can't be 11 teams tanking. We can't have, let me just open up the schedule right now.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I think this year was kind of a perfect storm for that.
Yes.
The quality of this year's draft and teams that had players get injured. Like, the Pacers normally would not be in the tanking race, but Tyrese Halliburton didn't play the whole year, and then everybody else in the team got injured at different times throughout the season. So this year was, like I said, kind of a perfect storm with the top of the draft combined with what happened on the court.
Like, we can't have, like, there's no reason to watch Sac Brooklyn from yesterday. right? Like we can't have it where it's just
Would there
unwatchable
be a
games.
reason if they were just regular bad and not actively tanking? Like that's the thing to me. We may not always have tanking teams. We're always going to have bad
Bad
teams,
teams.
and there's never going to be a reason to watch those teams late in the season for the most part.
Yeah, and I should say it this way. You know both of those teams aren't really putting in the effort they want to put in, right? Or what you'd want to see if they were just bad.
If they enacted any of these proposals, would Brooklyn and Sacramento be trying against each other late in the season anyway?
Yeah, I think if it wouldn't matter about lottery odds or whatnot. The one thing I think
But it
all
does
these
matter for lottery positioning.
positioning is what I
If
mean.
your
Sorry,
odds
like
are the same, or I guess in the first one, it wouldn't matter because you draw all 18 teams. But in the other proposals, it would matter because you're drawing 18 teams in the other one. But in the third proposal, there's only so far you can move down to 10th.
right. I don't.
So,
I'm not the third proposal. I think so. We're gonna have two lottery. Like that's too much for me, in my little brain. But like I think the ultimate thing is I think if we can just make it where it's like, hey, yeah, they're two bad teams are playing, but it's not two teams that are not trying. I think is the difference.
right. That's
And
why I think you need to find a way to not. It's not about disincentivize losing. It's incentivize winning. And I don't think any of these proposals really does that.
I will actually also say this, and this is something that's kind of bothered me in all of these. No discussion about pick protections. I want to get rid of those. Like that needs to go. But again, this is going to be tweaked and stuff. Who knows if that makes its way in? Who knows if it doesn't? We're on RealGM radio now, so maybe more people will listen to our ideas, Jared, and we can kind of influence some stuff here, and we might get a little bit more sway in that. It's not an easy situation to be in, right? And then the other thing too is it's the owners who are tanking who are also voting in on this, right? Like there's an element of like, okay, like, but this is going to hurt us. And like, are we really going to get the actual answer in what we want? It's the same way as like, it's always funny to me when the Thunder are pissed off that a team whose pick they own is tanking or something in a way to keep the pick. And it's like, y'all been doing this before. Y'all have done this before, so
Yeah, they had the 2-season tank, in between the Chris Paul year and then the year where Chet came back from injury. They had those 2 seasons where they won like 20-something games. Yeah, I mean, the proposals are going to change, like you said, and, we'll see what they do. And the two of us will eventually understand whatever the proposal is. I do think if it's too complicated, it's going to be hard to explain to casual observers who just want to know, like, oh, my team is 19-63. What does that mean for our lottery odds? And if it takes you too long to explain that, I feel like it's not the best idea in the world.
But you can't. But this being a complicated solution, your answer can't be how do we make this the solution just an elevator pitch. Like I'd rather they get it right, and even if it's too complicated to explain, I'm okay with it as long as they get it right. Because it's like, we don't care what they did. It worked, right? Like whatever it is, right? Like the All-Star Game's a great example. It was complicated to explain, but it worked, right? Like there was an element of like, all right, it worked. We got a great All-Star Game out of it. This also brings me very quickly. I'm going to throw another wrench in here before we move on here. And I'm going to apologize, Jared, to you for throwing this wrench in here. I've seen a lot of people talk about how bad of a season this has been in the NBA, apart from tanking. I overall have thought this has been a great NBA season. Like, I think we've had great games. I think the product on the floor has been really good for the most part in most of these games. Apart from the tanking teams, everybody just relax before you just threw something at however you're listening or watching us. But I think the games and the teams themselves like Charlotte's such a freaking fun story. Phoenix is a great story. Detroit, Boston, awesome stories with what we have. Wemby kind of blowing up and trying to make a late push for the MVP is a great freaking story. The Thunder, however you feel about them, being the bad guys. And let's be honest, you need a few bad guys to have some fun with some of these leagues in that way. Like, we've had a lot of the Lakers' resurgence in the second half of the season and Luka balling out is a lot of fun. Like, I think, like,
starting 6-21 and being where they are now.
Another great story in the way that they're going. Like, I know it's so easy to just harp on the negative, and like just hearing so many people shit on the league. I think it's been a great NBA season. You know, you can argue weird. It's been weird. We've had a lot of weird stuff happen, you know, from the very beginning with, you know, aspiration and that whole debacle. But like, it's been a great NBA season for the most part. I think there's a lot more positive stuff than I think people want to really look at, and I just think people largely want to just be negative, and be negative particularly about the NBA because I guess it's the thing to do now.
The NBA has a negativity issue, I think, is the biggest issue with the NBA. Like, there's a negative, I don't know about stigma, but there's a negative connotation to a lot of what happens in and around the NBA, and I do think that that's been a pervasive issue for a while. Some of it was driven by TV partners being negative about the league for so long. That's changed a little bit this year, I think, with NBC and Amazon in particular. ESPN has been more in that direction this year as well. So I think it'll change over the next several years, hopefully. But yeah, I'm with you. We're also basketball purists and sickos that pay attention to what actually goes on the court, as opposed to all of the drama going on off the court, or like only paying attention to the 3 weeks when tanking was the biggest story in the league. So we have a little bit of a different perspective on it than maybe some other people do.
Yeah, and I don't accept it. We're right, they're wrong. All right, folks, we're going to be back in just a moment. We just got to take a quick break. And we're back, folks. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Hope you missed us. We always have some fun stuff, and some of the fun stuff we have today, we're talking, kicking around ideas, and Jared hit me with one that was fun, and I was like, you know what, Jared? I want to hear this. Jared, what was your idea that you hit me up with? By the way, I'm going to be honest, I didn't do the homework assignment. I'm in Las Vegas. I was busy losing money. But scouting out where a potential NBA team will be. What was your idea? And then I'm just going to piggyback off of it.
Yeah, I said we could go through my All-Dubin teams that I released today, my favorite non-star players to watch in the NBA this season. And just so people are aware, I define non-stars as anybody who was not an all-star and is not in the mix for one of the season-long awards.
Okay.
Those are the group of players that I choose from. There is no games or minutes played minimum required to be a member of
They played team. One game, he's in. It might be enough.
They could be, but I do take minutes into consideration. So, for example, Steven Adams was one of my favorite players to watch in the league this season, but he only played like 700 minutes. And there are players that I enjoyed more because I had the chance to watch them more often. So that's where we're going with this next segment here.
All right, well, let's just go. Is it tiered first, second, and third team?
First, second, third team, 15 guys total, obviously. And number one,
is it
team captain.
Hold on. Well, I was going to ask, is it better to go third, second, first?
Oh, yeah, we can go third, second, first if that works.
Is it more like kind of build that, like sort of who's your 15 to 10?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go.
Dramatic.
Is it positionless?
It is positional.
I'm adjusting in the chair. Like, I'm excited for this. Let's go.
Okay, third team. These players are in alphabetical order by last name. Third team, Bones Highland.
Okay.
Jordan Miller. My God.
I knew Jordan Miller was making your list. There's no way Jordan Miller wasn't making your list.
Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Watson making his second All-Dubin team appearance.
Oh.
And Jalen Williams, big guy Jalen Williams.
Big Jalen Williams. Okay, before we go to second team, let's talk about third team here a little bit. Bones has been awesome, especially since Ant's been out as well. Like, I think he's kind of really sort of picked it up. Him, and I'm going to throw another guy in there that would have actually been mine over Bones. Ayo Dosunmu has been awesome in this stretch. Listen, there's only been 6 games since Ant's been out. He's only played in 4 of them, but he's averaging almost 20 points in those 4, diming everybody up and shooting the piss out of the ball from 3, which is a team that does not shoot well from 3 for the most part. Like, I think that's been a nice sort of pickup. So I had him there. I know I'm with you with Jordan Miller. He's been a lot of. This is your guy, though. I would have never stole your thunder with him. This has been your guy for like 2 years now.
Well, going back to Miami's teams that made the Elite Eight and the Final Four, I was adamant that he was the best player on those teams and not Isaiah Wong. And I was right, and it's been proven right since they came into the NBA. He's also, like, even if he wasn't, like, my guy from those teams, I'm a sucker for a crafty lefty, and that's exactly what he is. The guy gets to the free throw line so often for someone who just, like, comes up the bench and is not, like, the best athlete in the world, but he's so crafty and gets downhill so unorthodoxically, if that's a word, which I don't think it is, but he's just really fun.
It's okay.
Bones, like you said, 39% from 3 on 9 attempts per 36 minutes, making 57% of his twos this year. Really, really good player. Peyton Pritchard, best late clock shot maker in the NBA. He has 15 more field goals in the last 4 seconds of the shot clock than the next closest guy, which is Kevin Durant. Absolutely.
I love watching teams at the end of quarters go like, leave Jalen, leave Tatum, go guard that guy.
So much fun. Absolutely. Peyton Watson missed a bunch of the season with his hamstring injury, but while Aaron Gordon was out, he was so fucking good. Like,
it wasn't just when Gordon was out, it was when Jokic was out too.
And when Christian Brown was out.
He's become more, hey, I can do some shit with the ball type of guy. Like, I kind of like seeing that.
42% from 3 on the season. Really impressive.
Right.
Jay Will, the best third center in the NBA. He doesn't miss threes anymore. He lost a bunch of weight this season, and he's still just as physical as he was. And he's liable to get in a fight at any time.
Which is always fun. We should have done this part first. Any honorable mentions? Anybody just missed the cut for you?
Oh, there were a bunch of guys that just missed the cut. Let me see if I can go through my. Ayo Dosunmu was one of the guys that just missed the cut. I think I deleted my long list because
it was too long.
Well, I wound up actually doing the teams, so I didn't need the long list.
Okay, don't worry about it. I've derailed us enough today. Let me get us back on.
I still have it. Tristan Da Silva, Ayo Dosunmu, Colin Gillespie, Ugo Gonzalez, Mo Gay, Rui Hachimura, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Nickeil Alexander-Walker would have been on it, but they're both in the mix for season-long awards.
All right.
Isaiah Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe, Spencer Jones, Sandro Mamukelashvili, A.J. Mitchell just didn't play enough, combined with the fact that he could be in the mix for sixth man because there's no minutes limit on that one. I know you don't like him, but Emmanuel Quickley, Ryan Rollins, Alex Sarr, Landry Shamet, Jamal Shed, Reed Shepard, Cam Spencer, Naquan Tomlin, who just didn't play a lot but was so much fun on the Cavs, and Cason Wallace.
Okay. Well, I want to see if one or two names that I kind of am thinking of, I want to see if they make your other teams before I get mad at you that they didn't make the All-Dubin team. So let's go to the second team of the All-Dubins.
Second team, Anthony Black, Julian Champagny, Moussa Diabate, Jaden McDaniels, and Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, no notes, to be honest with you. No notes. All of these guys have been awesome. I like Champagny the most, just like the way he's been playing and like the role he plays for the Spurs was massive. And like I think when he was hitting the threes early in the year, I'm like, that's not sustainable. And I'm like, no, it has been very sustainable with the way he's knocking down shots. Like, I kind of like the way they're sort of set up. I'm all in on Moussa Diabate. I'm doing the Moose Antlers right now. I'm all in. I love the juice he brings to it. Maybe not quite strong enough, but like I love that he fits the Charlotte team perfectly. And I think part of their run comes from the fact they put him in the starting lineup.
Oh, absolutely. Anthony Black, I love tall point guards, and he's like 6'7".
Few
Good
bright
finisher.
spots in Orlando. One of the few
Yeah,
bright spots.
basically the only bright spot in
Yeah.
Orlando, honestly. Or Desmond Bain, since that horrendous start, has been a bright spot too. But yeah, really good finisher, 72% within 3 feet of the rim. One of 24 players averaging 3 deflections per game. Just really good at the point of attack. They allow fewer drives and points per drive when he's on the court than when he's off the court. Just a really good, really fun player. Gets downhill, drives more, fruitful this year. Champagny, 38% from three on 6.3 attempts per game. When he gets the ball, it is going up very quickly. He averages the fifth fewest seconds per touch in the league among players with 1,000 or more front court touches, which you can get that from the NBA.com tracking stats. Diabate, I love. I put him in my NBA preview at the start of the year that I did for the Hornets. 8.3 points, 9.6 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 1.1 blocks in 29 minutes, while the Hornets outscored opponents by 10 points per game in those minutes since he entered the starting lineup, which is just awesome. Like, outscoring the opponents by 10 points per game in 29 minutes is insane. Isaiah Stewart, like, just an absolute bully, and somehow the best rim protector in the league, despite the fact that he's like 6'7", 6'8". Opponents making 43.2% of their shots when he's within 5 feet of the shooter and the rim. Best in the NBA by almost 5 full percentage points. And, of course, he just, trucks people all over the place. And much like Jalen Williams is liable to get in a fight at basically.
That's what I feel like your centers for all these All-Dubin teams are, like, much likely to get into a fight type guy. All right, let's do it. Break it off. First team.
I know a lot of people hate him, and for the exact same reasons that I love him. Alex Caruso making his second appearance on the All-Dubin team. Stephon Castle, team captain.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller, Neemias Queta, and Mitchell Robinson.
Okay. A lot of people hate Caruso. Listen, if he's on your team, you love him. Like, plain and simple. Makes a lot of great plays. We talked about it in the Thunder game. The rebound away from Cat and things like that. Often ends up having to guard guys like Cat, like Jokic, all that stuff. Guards or fouls them, depends on your view of
a little bit of both.
The game. Yeah, I think it's a nice mixture there of all of that stuff. But yeah, there's that. I'm all in. Castle, first team, captain, yes. Would have been upset if you didn't have him in there. I probably would have just ended our whole partnership right then and there. Queta's been phenomenal. Like, give him a ton of credit for, like, this part. The Boston run is not dependent on him, but he's a big reason why they are where they are, because they had no bigs. And his development, the way he's played, has really carried them a large way. It has been really important for them in what they've done. Who were the other two? Sorry, I did.
Brandon Miller and Mitchell Robinson.
Brandon Miller, like, the every time I watch him, I'm like, yo, like, he came out in the draft and said his favorite player was, like, Paul George, and I was like, that's a weird thing. No, but, like, he looks like Paul George on the floor. Like, and I mean that.
I wrote about. He is like the Paul George starter pack, and he's like 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah, and I mean that in a positive way, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the way he plays and stuff like that. Like, I think he's exciting. He's fun to watch with everything. Good list, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Stephon Castle, by the way, like, the way he moves is just different than everybody else in the league. I wrote that it's like the combination of, like, violence and acrobatics makes him look like he's, like, slicing through the court like he's a ninja. It's so crazy. He's, I think, the most adventurous defender in the league at this point, because he can be so aggressive because he has Victor Wembanyama behind him, and he just has his nose and his hands in on absolutely everything. And then he is such a good passer at this point already. Like, I never thought that this was going to be a guy that averaged 7 assists per game in the NBA. Never.
Yeah,
like, he's averaging almost twice as many assists per game in the NBA than he did in college. That's insane.
I mean, the development, everything. Like, it's been awesome watching him play. Okay, so a little bit shocked. I would have thought you'd have been a little bit of a Maxime Reynaud guy.
Yeah, I do like Maxime right now. I should have probably had him on the long list.
I thought,
Especially over the second half of the season when everybody's been hurt. He's been very fun.
I think he's been very fun there in that regard. I guess I could see the Thompson twins not being on there. It's funny. It's kind of feeling like people are a little
too good. Asar Thompson's in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't think
he's on the long list. He's on like the 5th or 6th.
Okay. So that means Austin Reeves is probably too good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just, as I was like going, you had Cam Spencer on, but no Pat Spencer, or the other, which Spencer brother did you not?
Spencer.
You had Cam Spencer. Pat Spencer a little bit, would have been kind of fun. No.
The thing is, I can't have Pat Spencer on there because he wears number 61, and that is so aesthetically displeasing that I can't possibly enjoy watching him.
I'll tell you who I'm happy you didn't have on there is Brandon Podemski. I am not a fan of his. I don't really care for him. That overall, that's a great list.
Thank you.
That's a great list. And I think that is a good place to end our first real run on the steering.
You got to come back next time with your favorite non-star players to watch.
Yeah, it's not going to be better than yours. Yours is, you took all the good ones. So I think we're just going to leave it there. I might come back and try to win some more money in Vegas. It's because that's how it works, right? You lose and then you try to come back and win it the next time.
Yeah, nobody's ever lost more doing that.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think that's going to do it for us here today on the Double Dribble podcast with Dubin and Dakil, brought to you by RealGM Radio. Thank you, folks, for listening today.
See y'all.